Good morning, welcome back students. In this video lecture we will be discussing about the second class of phylum Platyhelminthes, that is Trematoda. So the second class, it is Trematoda. Then when we discuss about the silent features, the most important silent feature of this class Trematoda, it is that most of them are almost all the trematodes are the parasitic, and they are commonly known as flukes. They are commonly called as flukes, and their body, it is leaf-like. As you can see, the Fasciola hepatica, it is a good example for this Trematoda, and it is a leaf-like. It is leaf-like, covered with an outer non-ciliated syncytium. You can see it is covered with the outer non-ciliated syncytium, the tegument. The main function, it is a protection, absorption, secretion, and the gaseous exchange. So outer covering, or the outer epithelium, that is little bit hard, and or you can say that it is somewhat cuticle like, so they are called as a tegument. Little bit hard, since it is a parasitic form. It has that is one of this parasitic adaptation with a strong cuticle or tegument. And the term syncytium means it is a multinucleated tissue. So that's a syncytium. Then the body is unsegmented. As you can see here, this fasciola, you can't see any segmentation. So that's a characteristic feature of class Trematoda. Then it is elongated, and the cilia is present in the larval stages, but the cilia are absent in the adult stages. Then you can see an oral sucker. There is a ventral sucker here. This ventral sucker is also called as an acetabulum. The mouth is at the anterior end or in the middle of the oral sucker. The so-called mouth is present on the anterior end, and it is placed at the center of the oral sucker, and this mouth leads into a well-developed, this mouth, somewhat here will be the mouth leads into a well-developed alimentary canal, and it has the two branches for the intestine, and the anus is absent. So the mouth leads into an elongated canal, and it leads into the two branches of intestine. It is highly branched. These branches will be highly branched. So this picture, you can see it's clear here. The mouth leads into a tubular esophagus, and the muscular pharynx is also present, and it ends in two branches of intestinal caecae. These are the two branches of intestinal caecae. As you can see that it is highly branched intestine, it is present. Then they are the hermaphrodite except the few blood fluke. So the term hermaphrodite might be familiar with you. That is, a male and the female structures will be present. Genital structures or the genital organs will be present in the same organism. So those organisms are called as a hermaphrodite. And this hermaphroditism is absent in the certain blood flukes which comes under the phylum Platyhelminthes, and the most of them have a complex life cycle with the several larval stages. So most of them are the parasite and parasitic forms, and they may be having more than one parasitic host life. This Trematoda, class Trematoda, the good example or the standard example, it is a liver fluke. The scientific name, it is a Fasciola hepatica. So it is a digentic parasite. It is a digentic parasite in the sense that it requires the two host animal to complete its life cycle. So they are called as a digenetic parasite. Then these flukes, they causes the liver rot in sheep. Liver rot, that is a term that is used, rotting of the liver. So that is the disease caused by this parasite if it is heavy infested in the liver of the vertebrate. The adult fluke is found in the vertebrate, but the stage of the life cycle is spent in the gastropod, that is a freshwater snail, that is a limnia. Then the anterior end of the body, here the anterior end of the body, you can see a conical projection is there, and this lobe is called as a head lobe, which bears the mouth, and it is surrounded by the anterior oral sucker. Then the middle region, almost to the middle of the body, it is broad and it tapers towards the posterior end. And the ventral side below the head lobe, you can see a ventral sucker, or it is called as a acetabulum. Then between the two suckers, that is the oral sucker and the ventral sucker, or this ventral sucker is also called as a posterior sucker, acetabulum, or the ventral sucker. And between these two suckers, there is a genital pore. You can see there is a genital pore called as a gonopore. And towards the posterior end, you can see the excretory pore. So these are the openings. There is a gonopore in between the two suckers. You can see the gonopore, that is meant for a reproduction and reproductive phase. Then there is a excretory pore. Then this tegument bears a spinules which prevent the parasite from slipping from the position. So if you take a small portion from here and we place it under the microscope, this tegument, or this part of the epidermis, so called the tegument, or the outer covering, you can see the numerous structures like this, projections like this, and these are called as a spinules tegument. These are the spinules which prevent the parasite from slipping from its position. So with the help of this ventral sucker, with this help of the oral sucker, ventral sucker, and with the help of the spinules, this organism gets cling to the body of the host. Okay, so the Fasciola reproduces sexually by the cross fertilization, and the eggs leaves the vertebrates to the body through the urine and the fecus. So, and how the infection is spread is through the contaminated fecal matter, contaminated the food and the water that is taken in by the vertebrate, with this contaminated with the urine and the fecus of the host. So these are the pictures showing the nervous system of Fasciola hepatica, and this is of the excretory system of Fasciola hepatica. And these are the structures. There is a nerve ganglion, there is a central ring, there is a dorsal nerve, ventral nerve, and there is a lateral nerve cord, and there are the peripheral branches of the nerve cord. So the nervous system of Fasciola hepatica comprises of anteriorly with the cerebral ganglion, there is a central ring, and then there are the anterior nerves, and it runs distally by arising an elongated lateral nerve cord, a dorsal nerve cord which runs to the dorsal side of the organism, and there is a ventral nerve cord which runs the ventral side of the organism, and there are the peripheral branches of nerve cord which covers or which spreads around the periphery of the organism. So this is a very simple nervous system seen in Fasciola hepatica. Then about the excretory system, the basic unit, it is a protonephridia type. So there is no need for a much well-developed excretory system in Fasciola, since it is a parasitic form. Okay, so there are the longitudinal excretory canal which it's connected to a network of the protonephridial tube. You can see numerous protonephridial tubes or the excretory canals are present, and they are joined together anteriorly by a network of transverse canals. So these are the transverse canals. You can see these are the transverse canals, and these transverse canals all open into the longitudinal canal. This is the main canal, longitudinal canal, and they are joined together anteriorly by a network of transverse canal, and leading from these networks are the small excretory canals which opens to the outside dorsolaterally by the minute nephridiopores, and leading from these main tubules are numerous branches which branch and the rebranch and into a ramifying system of fine capillaries, and each capillaries ends in a hollow club-shaped hollow cells called as a flame cells. So this is an enlarged view of these flame cells. So each capillaries, small capillaries, ends with this hollow cell called as a flame cells. So these flame cells, it is having the basal granules, then it is having a cilia, tuft of cilia at the center, then it is having the cytoplasmic extensions. You can see here cytoplasmic extensions, the vacuoles are there, then you can see the numerous globules of excretions are also present. Then the movement of this cilia resembles to the fluttering of the flame, and hence the name the flame cells. This movement of the cilia together with the movement of these extensions, cytoplasmic extensions, helps the waste materials get transported into this cell lumen, and from this cell lumen it ends in a capillary. You can see this is a small capillary, and this small capillary ends in this excretory ductule, and this excretory ductule, which arises from each flame cells, joins together to form a capillary tube. And then they in turn joins with the transverse canal, and all the transverse canal joins to the central longitudinal excretory canal, and all the waste materials gets collected in this longitudinal excretory canal, and it's eliminated out through the excretory pore. So that's all about the excretory system. So you just study about the flame cell. You need not study the excretory system in very detail. You just make note of this, what is flame cell. Okay, then this is a cross-sectional or the TS of a Fasciola hepatica, that if you just cut a portion from here and if you just enlarge it, you will get a picture like this. Then if you just cut a small portion of this integument and then watch under a microscope, high magnified microscope, you will get an image like this. So this is this integument or the skin or the cuticle portion, it is made up of the epidermis. You can see the columnar cells. Then there is a base which is arranged above the basal membrane. It is followed by the circular muscles, then you can see the diagonal muscles, and below that there are the longitudinal muscles. And inside that columnar cells, you can see the small rhabdite. These are the rhabdites, and these are the rhabdite forming glands which is present on the dermal region. So reproduction, it is exclusively sexual. The most members are the hermaphrodite. You can see the male and the female sex organs seen in the same individual. Then it is highly reproductive system, organized reproductive system with a common genital atrium and a common gonopore. This is a common gonopore. The male system consists of 2 testes and their ducts and an irreversible serous or the penis, and the female system consists of ovary, vitelline glands and Mehal's glands.